Okay, Spectrophotometric Color Calibration. It's here in the new version of Siril 1.4. Before we get started, keep in mind that this is a beta version that I'm looking at right now. So if anything changes by the time we come out of beta, I'll leave it down in the description. This is another one of the really sought after features in Siril that we were missing that allow us to accurately color correct our images by knowing what camera sensor we're using, by knowing what filters we're using, and by querying the Gaia catalog online. So let's check it out. My name is Rich and you're watching Deep Space Astro. Okay, before we get started, the important thing to remember is when you're doing any kind of color calibration, the data must be in linear. You can do it after stretching, but your colors aren't going to be accurate. They're not going to be correct. So always do your color calibration before you do any of your stretching, right? The data is still in linear. Second, before we get into the two automatic color calibration tools that we have, I just wanted to go over the manual way of doing it. And just because this just to make the video all encompassing, right? Not only is the Spectrophotometric Color Calibration a new function within 1.4 of Siril, but the photometric color calibration that we've all been used to using, the interface has changed significantly. So I just want to make sure I covered everything so you guys have a good understanding of what's going on here. So right now I have a stacked image of my M45 and it is in linear. So we'll come out of the linear view and go into an auto stretch view. All I've done to this image was a crop and background extraction. Nothing else has been done to it at this point. So we'll start with the manual way of color calibrating your image. So up in the image processing menu under color calibration, and then the first option, color calibration. And you'll notice the other two, the photometric and the spectrophotometric, are both disabled. They're grayed out right now. And we'll touch base on that when we get to them. So for now, we're just going to click on color calibration. And this is the manual way of calibrating the color within your image. We'll start with our background reference up here. And what you want to do is just find an area that represents the background of your image with no contrast. I generally just try to find a dark area without any stars, something like that. And then come back over and tick on use current selection and then background neutralization. That'll help get our background to a nice, even grayish type tone. The next one would be for our white reference. And we do that the same way, except this time find a nice area of your image that has a lot of contrast. So I generally try to include not only the brighter areas of the image, but I'll drag it out into the background a little bit just to show some contrast. And then again, under white reference, hit use current selection and then apply. So now we're color calibrated. I am going to undo the white balance real quick. Just to show you the other option, you can do this manually by ticking the manual white balance option and play with your sliders. Now, obviously, as you see, I'm moving the sliders. It's not affecting the image. There's no live preview when you're doing this. It may be useful in some cases, but what you'll have to do is adjust your sliders and then hit apply. It makes a change to the image. Come back and just kind of play with the sliders back and forth, hitting apply again to get to the look that you're trying to accomplish. But honestly, if I ever do use the manual color calibration tool, I never have ticked the manual white balance button myself. I've always used the selection like I just showed you previously. Just wanted to point it out, let you know that it's there. So we're going to close this and we'll undo the effects of the manual calibration that we just did. All right, so now we're back to the beginning. Like I said, just a crop and a background extraction. Now we'll take a look at the photometric color calibration, the tool that prior to Siril 1.4 we've all been used to using. Again, under image processing and color calibration, it's currently not available. And this is one of the things that has changed for the photometric color calibration is you now need to plate solve first before you use either one of these two tools. So to do a plate solve, we're going to come up into tools, astrometry, and then the image plate solver. I do have a video that covers this. I'll leave a link down in the description as well as up in the top right hand corner here. So all of my settings are in place. My right ascension, my declination, my focal length is correct. My pixel size is correct. So I know I'm ready to go with this. I'm just going to click OK. You see it flip the image per the plate solve settings. And now if we come back up into image processing and color calibration, PCC and SPCC are now available for us. So we'll go and we'll start with the photometric color calibration. And like I said, this interface has drastically been changed, right? It was kind of a mix of the PCC and the plate solver all into one area. They have broken that out. So our options are limited now. There's not much to choose from, which is a good thing, keeps things simple, right? The first one is with the star catalog. Nomad will be the default. You have APAS and also the Gaia DR3 catalog. You can limit the magnitude. I generally leave this on auto, but if you need to change it, you can untick auto and you can decrease or increase your magnitude. And then background reference works the same way as it does in the manual reference. If you want to define an area yourself, you can untick automatic detection and draw a selection and then say use selection. Again, this is one of those things. I just let it do its own thing. The automatic detection works well for me. So at this point, just using all the default settings when I ran the tool, click OK, and it'll color correct our image for us. Perfect, right? But now there's a better way. So if we close this and we undo it, get us back again to the beginning, I'm going to leave my plate solve in place. Now if we come up to image processing, color calibration, and spectrophotometric color calibration, this is going to be the new way of color calibrating your image. It pretty much makes the previous PCC that I just showed you obsolete. It is better because it will be aware, per the settings that you put in place, of the sensor that you use in your camera as well as your filters. And to show you a difference between the two, the image on the left here was color calibrated with the photometric color calibration, and the image here on the right was color calibrated with the new spectrophotometric color calibration. So you can see the differences between the two. So we'll start with the interface. At the top, it needs a white point reference to calibrate your image against. Average spiral galaxy is going to be what you use 99% of the time. Again, it's about the white point reference. If, for example, you wanted to color calibrate with a white reference using sunlight, you could come into the drop down and there's lots of options in here to choose from. But if we go to the star type way down here and pick star type G2 IV, then we would be color calibrating with a white point reference that is equal to sunlight. You know, you can play with these settings. You can look up their meanings online to get a better understanding of what the white reference is coming from for each of these star types. But again, average spiral galaxy is where you're going to want to be most of the time. The details button is going to show you details about where it's pulling the data from. You can plot that data out as well. On the bottom is your wavelength in nanometers, and on the left-hand side is the relative photon count. Kind of stats for nerds, right? Plot all, if you click that, if you look up in the top right corner here, it shows you the black line represents your average spiral galaxy. Red, green, and blue is the sensor for the color camera. Optilong L Pro for the filter, and then the camera type. Before we go any further, let's talk about the status. So this does reach out to the internet to query the Gaia catalog. You can see down here on the bottom, we have a button labeled status, and the light is green, which means the Gaia archive is available. You will also see when you first launch Siril, and I'm going to scroll back up in the console here, it'll check if the Gaia archive is available and indicate as such each time that you run Siril. So you can check it with the button. You can look over on your console as soon as you run Siril, and it'll let you know it's up and running. If it's not, it'll be indicated as such in the status button. The green will turn to like an amber color, and you also see a message over in the console screen as well. Now, keep in mind, just as the message in the console screen says, it doesn't necessarily mean that the archive is completely down. It could be that the archive status that's being queried could be having issues and the archive is actually operational. So it's just something to make you aware of. You can run it even if it says it's not available. And if it's successful, then it's successful. You're good to go. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's down. If it does show that it's unavailable and you do run it and you get an error message and it's not working, then that means they're down for maintenance or what have you. But my understanding is the archive is pretty stable. The downtime is very minimal, but just two different ways for you to be able to determine that the archive is actually online. So let's go through these settings. So currently right now, per the sensor type switch, we are in one-shot color mode. So my one-shot color sensor for my Player One Poseidon C is the IMX 571. So we do have a list of other cameras and sensor types. So the idea is you select the sensor that you know is in your camera. We even have one in here for the C-Star users. If your camera's not listed or your sensor's not listed, it's not that big of a deal, but just you'll have to look up the specifications on your sensor and see how they compare to one of the ones that you can choose. So just select something that's close. So again, like I said, 571 for me is my camera. This particular image was shot with the Optilong L Pro, so I would select the Optilong L Pro. Again, we have detail buttons on the side. It just shows you a little bit of information about where the data is coming from, as well as that plot button. SPCC also supports correcting for atmospheric corrections. So if we turn that button on, the observer height and the air mass are grayed out because it's pulling it from the information in the FITS header, but you can change your atmospheric pressure. Right now, it's set to tell Siril that take this number as being at sea level. If you knew what the atmospheric pressure was at your location when you were shooting, then then you would uncheck at sea level. Again, I'm leaving that at default, and I'm going to turn this back off, but I just want to make you guys aware that it is there. Plot files, this is on by default. So once it does its color calibration, we'll be presented with a couple of white balance summary reports that show the linear fit of the catalog red, green, and blue, green to the image red, green, and blue, green ratios. Again, background reference is an option here as well. We could do the same thing we did before and specify our background or tell it to use automatic detection. So with that in place, I will just click OK. It will take a few minutes sometimes to go out and query, but it does cache the data. So here are the two white balance summary reports that I was referring to by having the plot fits option turned on. If you're not interested in this, then when you run SPCC, just make sure you uncheck the plot fits option. So we're going to close these two. The thing that I wanted to cover is when you're selecting your sensor. So I'm going to turn off my narrowband here. If I come up and I select one of the DSLR options, like we'll just hit Nikon N50, you'll see there's a DSLR low pass filter option. And what the low pass filter is doing is it's trying to correct for the low pass filter. Sometimes they call it a hot mirror in the DSLRs themselves. And those can reduce transmittance at wavelengths that we're interested in when we're imaging. So if you are using SPCC to color calibrate an image that has been taken with a DSLR, you'll want to set your DSLR low pass filter as well. So again, I selected the D50, so I'm using the D50 profile. This, again, just one more way to get the most accurate colors possible out of this whole system. If you're shooting with a dual narrowband filter with your one-shot color, like an L Extreme or an L Enhance, you can tick narrowband mode, and you can specify the wavelengths for the red, green, and blue channel, as well as the band pass for each of the filters. So in my case, the L Extreme 656 is hydrogen alpha, that's the HA, and 500 is for the O3, that's assigned both to the green channel and the blue channel. Bandwidth, like I said, the L Extreme has a band pass, center of the band pass at 7 nanometers. Some of the manufacturers may also specify that as full width half maximum. So either way, you just need to look up the specs for your filter. You know, depending on the filter that you're using, your bandwidth will change. If you're just using a dual narrowband that's doing HA and O3, then these default settings are already in place for you. When you're looking up the bandwidth, for example, if I just jump over here into high point site for the L Extreme, you can see down here it's specifying both O3 and HA is 7 nanometers. And this is a perfect example of what I was talking about. They call it out as full width half maximum. Sometimes you'll see it as center of the band pass, right? And so make sure you look up the filters that you're using so you can specify the correct band pass. Obviously, this image was shot with my L Pro like I just showed you in the previous example. So I'm not going to apply this, but I just wanted to walk through the different options that you guys have. So now that pretty much covers what you do with your one-shot color data. If we slide this button over, we're now in mono. And everything works the same. So you're going to select your sensor again in the drop down list. So you're going to set your filters that you used. And for an RGB set, click OK, and color calibration will complete for you. You also have a narrowband mode in mono as well. So same thing applies. Whichever filters that you were using, you want to specify your wavelengths as well as the bandwidth of each of the filters. Now keep in mind, this doesn't mean that this can color calibrate and give you an SHO image. And actually, I'll show you an example from Siril's documentation here, where they state just that. You're not going to get an SHO by color calibrating with your filters that way. You'll end up with an image that is just different shades of green, right? And in this case, since you're trying to do an SHO type image, you're better off just color calibrating manually, as I showed you in the beginning of the video. The last thing that I want to talk about too is Siril. It's a tip, a suggestion, not necessarily a recommendation, but they do state when you're using the spectrophotometric color calibration that to get even more accurate colors, it's better that you do use a new Bayer drizzle function that's built into the software prior to running the SPCC tool. Again, not a requirement, but if you want to get as close as possible to completely accurate colors, that is a recommendation from them. And I'll be covering the new Bayer drizzle function in a future video, but I just wanted to make you guys aware of it right now. Again, documentation, they do an excellent job of documenting all this stuff. So if you haven't been out there, you have more questions, and you want to do more of a deep dive into how it's actually working and what the white summary plots mean, visit their website and go through the documentation. There's a lot of good stuff out there. So that covers the color calibration features within Siril, specifically SPCC. It's what I'm going to be using moving forward. Probably what you guys should be using moving forward whenever you can. Like I said, if you're trying to do something like an SHO, you're going to have to manually color correct. But for everything else, SPCC is going to be the way to go. I want to take this moment to say thanks to all my members here on YouTube and on buymeacoffee.com. I appreciate everybody's support. Thanks for everybody who's made donations. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Hit that bell notification so you'll never miss a video. Share a like, leave a comment if you have any questions. As always, I appreciate everybody's time. We'll see you in the next one, and clear skies.